seminal experience I had was with Buckminster Fuller, when he shared his purpose as a little individual who could make a difference that would impact all of humanity. That was his experiment with his life. And his statement was to live in a way that you could create a world that works for everyone with no one and nothing left out. And that idea to participate, to contribute, to create a world that works for everyone with no one and nothing left out, not only, kind of got seared into my heart, but it became a phrase that then got used through the EST network with Werner Erhard, which I was very involved in the early days of EST, and then later what's called Landmark, but it became sort of the foundation for the Hunger Project. And I was very involved in the Hunger Project for many, many years. I was part of a whole beautiful moment when Buckminster Fuller met Werner Erhard, the founder of EST, and they connected, and out of that relationship, the commitment to end world hunger was born. So I was a kind of a midwife or background player. And when Werner, who had also become engaged with that purpose, a world that works for everyone with no one and nothing left out, to create that, he and Bucky looked at what was the most foundational breakdown in the human family, the most primary fundamental breakdown in the human family that kept that vision from being real. It was that 1 billion people at the time could not feed themselves or their families. And so that was when the Hunger Project was born. There were 4.3 billion people on Earth at that time. 44,000 people a day were dying of hunger and starvation, most of them children under 5, in a world awash with food. So that was an indictment of the human family that became so clear for them in the context of a world that works for everyone with no one and nothing left out, to not be able to feed yourself or your children. Such a breakdown in integrity, that was where the first, I would say, expression of that purpose became real for me. And I became very, very involved in the Hunger Project, the commitment to end world hunger.
Here's what's coming up next on the Holo Movement Purpose Lab. Hi, my name is Zenka. I'm founder of LightNet, and my passion and purpose is to make the impossible possible. I'm here today with one of my biggest heroes in the whole world, Lynne Twist. She really has made an indelible mark on my lives and thousands and thousands and thousands of others around the world. She raised over $200 million for the Hunger Project to stop world hunger. And she also is a co-founder of the Pachamama Alliance, which is saving the lungs of the planet in the Amazon. She's also written a book called The Soul of Money, which really asks us to live our values and figure out what is enough. She is one of the strongest evolutionary voices we have on the planet, and it was a true honor to spend time with her to do this interview. Check it out.
The Hunger Project was really my teacher, because in the context of Bucky's work, Buckminster Fuller, today almost everything he predicted is happening. He was at that time called the grandfather of the future. He had invented the geodesic dome, for which he was famous, but he also had invented an electric car in 1949. He saw the end of the fossil fuel era in 1949 and invented an electric car. People called him crazy. It didn't seem logical to have an electric car. We had all this oil. But that was the kind of thinker he was. He was way ahead of his time. And in a talk that Bucky gave in Marin County in 1976, Bucky shared that the world in 1976 had passed critical threshold, and he put his arm out like this. I'll never forget this. I hadn't met Bucky then, but I knew that I wanted to know him, and I had a huge affinity for him, and I was in the audience at this talk. And he stood on the stage, this little, short, bald man with glasses, and was in his 80s at the time, and he looked out at the audience and he said, humanity, 1976, has just passed a critical threshold, and that threshold is this. And he said, and we'll never go back. And it's monumental, and it changes everything. And I didn't understand most of what Bucky said, I can confess, but when he set up this thing he was about to say, I remember sitting up in my chair, and if I get one thing, it's going to be this. And he said, that threshold, we've crossed it, and recently. And when Buckminster Fuller said recently, he meant in the last, 50 years or 100 years. That's the way he thought, in huge swaths of time. And he said, humanity is now doing so much more with so much less that it's absolutely clear that we have enough for everyone, everywhere, to have a healthy and productive life. And when Bucky said we have enough for everyone, everywhere, to have a healthy and productive life, I started to cry, just thinking about it. And he said that reality maybe has always been true, but it's absolutely clear now. Humanity's genius, humanity's innovation, humanity's way of inventiveness, our science, our technology will continue to do more and more with less and less. So the fact that there's enough for everyone everywhere to have a healthy and productive life will continue to be true forever. And he said that means we move from this side of the line, which is a paradigm of scarcity. There's not enough to go around and someone's always going to be left out. A you or me world. To this side of the line, a paradigm of sufficiency. A you and me world. On this side of the line, either you make it at my expense or I make it at your expense, because there's not enough for both of us. That's a you or me paradigm. But on this side of the line, it's a you and me paradigm. You and I can both make it at no one's expense. And he said, we've crossed that line, and it changes everything. And I remember, I'm just like tears streaming down my face. I had a kundalini thing go up my spine. I knew I'd heard something that was life-changing, but I didn't understand it then. And then he said something really important. He said, it'll take about 50 years for us to realize this new paradigm, because all the institutions of humanity are rooted in a you or me understanding of the world. Clearly the economy is rooted in a paradigm of scarcity, a you or me understanding of the world. But it's not just the economy, he said. It's also education is rooted in a you or me understanding of the world. Governance is rooted in a you or me understanding of the world. Healthcare is rooted in a you. He went on, and then he said even religion is rooted in a you or me understanding of the world. He said those are the institutions inside of which we live. It will take probably something like 50 years for them to become so dysfunctional, all of our institutions, to become so dysfunctional that they will begin collapsing under their own weight, and we won't be able to repair them. We won't be able to prop them up anymore. We will need to let them collapse, let them die, and we will begin to recreate all the institutions of humankind from a new paradigm, a you and me paradigm, a paradigm of profound sufficiency. So he said this in 1976. It is now, at this time when we're having this conversation, 2025. So it's about 50 years later, and sure enough, everything is collapsing. Not just some stuff, everything. And it's collapsing because it's inaccurately sourced, and it's now, we can't fix it. So that experience of understanding the profound nature of sufficiency, not abundance, sufficiency. And Bucky also said it's not an amount. It's an understanding, a way of being in the world. It's a state of being, sufficiency, enough. So I don't know how to explain this, but I got it. I didn't understand it. I couldn't have explained it to anybody. I'm explaining it to you now, 50 years later, but I couldn't explain it, but I got it. I became it. And that's when the Hunger Project began. And that's when I went to Ethiopia, Ghana, Senegal, Mozambique, India, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, Guinea-Bissau, Gabon, Burkina Faso. And I saw hunger and starvation and malnutrition and war and oppression and horrendous things. And you would think that I would say scarcity, but no. I saw sufficiency in every person. I saw the wholeness and completeness of the human beings. I began to see that there's no poor people on this planet. That the label poor, when you label someone poor, you demean them and you demean yourself. Because the people I met and worked with through my whole life who live in circumstances that we would call circumstances of poverty, they are not poor. They're courageous. They're inventive. They have profound relationships. They have a strong inner life. They exhibit more courage to live through a day than you and I are going to need in our whole lifetime. There's nothing poor about them. What's poor is their circumstances, not them. And those circumstances actually foster a kind of courage and strength and character that we do read books and go to workshops for. So I started to see I would never call people poor again in my life. I also became the chief fundraiser for the Hunger Project, and I realized that to call people rich is a disservice as well. People are whole and complete people living in the sometimes tyranny of the ebb and flow of excess resources. It's not always that great. So from the moment I committed to ending world hunger, the world presented itself to me in ways that I saw the profound sufficiency of life, the enoughness of every single human being, the profound sufficiency of our planet, and the lie, I'll call it, of scarcity. That it's a lie. It's just not true. And if I unpack the lie of scarcity, if you just think that you believe, if you think you believe something, you don't really know if you believe it, if it's an already always mindset. An unconscious, unexamined mindset is something you don't even know you have. It's like the lens you're looking at. So people look at life as if there's not enough to go around and someone somewhere is always going to be left out. That mindset creates an us and a them. If you unconsciously think that, then the goal is to accumulate as much as you possibly can for you and yours, whoever you consider that to be, even at the expense of the people who get left out. But your job is to make sure you and yours are not left out. If you believe that there's not enough for everyone and someone's going to be left out, then it's rational, noble, responsible, the right thing to do, to accumulate as much as you possibly can to make sure you and yours are not among those who get left out, who you will help someday, but only when you're sure you have way more than you need. If you think about that, that's the paradigm in which we're living. That's what has the aberration of an Elon Musk being so ridiculously wealthy that he can't even stay centered in his own being. And then billions of people not being able to actually practically survive. So this paradigm of scarcity is horrendous. It's inaccurate. It has no integrity. It's killing us. So I can't remember your question, but I had huge impact about the way I saw the world after that talk with Bucky Fuller. And then the Hunger Project really taught me that there are sufficient resources for all of us everywhere to have a healthy and productive life. And that will always be true. but our behavior is inconsistent with that. Our behavior is managed or manipulated by this unconscious, unexamined belief that there's not enough for everyone and someone's always got to be left out. And that's the source of more of better, more of anything is better, more cars, more money, more houses, more planes, more everything that's killing us. And we actually think that's the way that it is. So once I had that purpose, the whole world started to look completely different for me. And I also discovered that I am enough, that I have enough, that we are enough, and then there is enough. And that was not only game-changing, but life-changing for me.
For more, watch the full episode, which will be aired on Monday. Or you can find this story on our podcast, Awaken Your Purpose. To find your passion and purpose, join us at hollowmovement.net